A number of changes are taking place at the territory's largest secondary school, Elmore Stoutt High School, which now has over 1,400 students. In August, Education Minister Marion Walwyn told JTV News that the new changes will be assessed in the upcoming term. This include uniform change to differentiate junior and senior students, as well as separate areas on campus. Principal Sandy Underhill and other Elmore Stoutt High School representatives spoke about these changes and more in this Big Story interview with Sean Rose.
Changes at Elmore Stoutt High School, but the new academic term starts very soon. Tell us about that.
Starting with the uniform change. Lots of concerns, lots of criticisms and opposition along the way, but we're here. And I want to take this opportunity to really explain where the uniform change began. One of the major issues that we faced last year, and I suppose in the past before I became principal, was not being able to identify your junior students from your senior students, causing major discipline problems in the school. And so in an effort to curtail that and minimize the amount of discipline issues, we came up with the idea of the uniform change, as well as to satisfy the minister's mandate to begin separation of the schools.
Let's take up in a bit. So the issue of not being able to recognize junior high students, when was this usually a problem? How was that a problem?
During lunch. For example, you have two lunch periods, one designated to upper school and the other to lower school. What you would find happening is once upper school students were finished having lunch, they would remain for the second hour. And there was no way in a school as huge as the Elmore Stoutt High School, while I do know most of the students by name, you can't possibly remember all of them. And so it became a challenge to be able to identify, well, why were you out of class? Why are you here? And the students knew this, and they used this against us.
Now is a good time to bring in the assistant principal, Penn Rogers, in the conversation. Do you see this working effectively?
In addition to having the uniform, we have designated an area in our school. Our school is now separated almost physically.
Yes.
Where a certain area is designated primarily for junior school students and an area primarily for senior school students. So in that again, if you're wearing yellow and you're not accompanied by a teacher, I would automatically know that you're loitering and you're loitering in an incorrect area.
Is this important also academically, you think?
It is important academically and it is important socially, because socially the junior students tend to be influenced somewhat by the senior student, and that separation, just not the uniform and the demarcation within the building, the bells will be ringing differently. So there will be a 15 minutes delay of time between junior students moving from class to class and senior students moving from class to class. Here again, that there will be very limited contact and interaction between junior and senior. So you will, as a junior school student, take on that full persona that I'm a junior to the seniors. This is where I attend school, and this is where I am aspiring to attend. So there's something to work for.
Yes.
And I just want to add to that coming in as a new principal, discipline was the main challenge. We can't begin to talk about instructional success with academics unless we fix the problem of discipline. And discipline is a wide, broad spectrum. It starts from rules and regulations with simple things like uniform, which a lot of people don't understand. You have questions about, okay, why are you so rigid with hair color? Why are you so rigid about the shoe? And it all comes down to education, which is the business that we are in. We are here to educate. And education needs to be looked at from a broader, wider range. It's not just about academics. It's about preparation for the real world. So, changing of the uniform, separation of the school, all of that is to instill discipline among students, especially as regards to the younger students in the lower grade level, so that when they get to the upper grades, they're already settled and focused and have a higher propensity to succeed.
What are some of the new measures being put in place to address discipline?
Going into this new school year, what we plan to focus on is truancy. issues of truancy, issues of attendance, and what we like to call a system of response to intervention, which we started last year, but we really want to take off running with that this year. So I'll explain a little bit about what's happening with regard to truancy and attendance. We have identified a person from within our staff who will now be dealing with issues of truancy and attendance, making sure that we are on point in terms of record keeping and data collecting as regards truancy, but not just record keeping and data collecting, also making sure that students have the right consequences for issues of truancy. More involvement from truancy officers as regards to their role and aligning what they actually do on the ground with what it says they're supposed to do in the Education Act. As regards to response to intervention, what that is simply making sure that students at risk are not simply left behind. We have identified quite a few students who are repeat violators of the Code of Conduct. So instead of just sending them home and suspending, we are putting measures in place to make sure that they have a chance at rehabilitation, partnering them with outside agencies such as Lionheart, MAIL, we have a boxing club, we have outside mentorship, we have persons from the community who have come forward graciously, and decided to be mentors to our students. And we want to continue that effort because it makes a big difference. And what we're doing really to streamline that process is that we're documenting. We're not just saying that we're doing it, we are documenting and keeping files and records of all students who have been placed in such a program.